Welcome back to Couch Talk, everybody. I just got done watching the movie The House with the Clock on Its Walls, or The House with a Clock on Its Walls. Not too sure on that one. Anyway, this movie is directed by Eli Roth. Let's let that sink in for a second. Eli Roth. This is the mastermind and the infamous horror director. Now, I don't want to say all of his horror movies are good, but the guy that really likes to do horror. He did Hostel, I think the first and second one. He did Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves. He did the remake of The Green Inferno. And even when he's not directing movies, he's also acting in movies where he plays kind of like a very violent character. More notably, Inglourious Basterds. He plays the Bear Jew, which is also the guy that uses the baseball bat to smash the Nazi general's head in. The guy likes violence, and this is a kid's movie that he's making. So going into this, I wasn't too sure what to expect. Holy shit, he had it in him. Because this movie was awesome, in my opinion. He's always talked about how he wanted to do a kids movie for years, just for like his own family to see, and just because he wanted to dabble in it, but he didn't know exactly how to go about doing it, and he couldn't find the right story. And then finally he came across this, and this movie definitely feels like an Eli Roth movie because there are some scenes that are a little tense and are a little scary, and you can kind of see his past creations bleeding onto this. There's a couple scenes where the kid wakes up in the middle of the night and hears things creeping around the house, and it is a little creepy for a kid's movie, but it's not overbearingly creepy. Like, I still think kids can handle it, and nothing really comes from it like super scary. There is a couple jump scares in there that took me by surprise. But again, this movie's PG, keep that in mind, so there's nothing overly bearing about it, like to the point where you have to feel like you can't bring your kid to see this. And he does have his Eli Roth violence in there. I mean, the guy likes to blow things up and dismember stuff, but he's trading humans for pumpkins. Really, the only violence in this movie comes in the form of a little thing at the end where Cate Blanchett, Jack Black, and the kid have to destroy a bunch of pumpkins that were transformed into living monstrous pumpkins, and they're like hitting them with like rakes and like hammers, and Cate Blanchett's using like magic to like blow them up, and you see a little snippet of it in the trailer, but it's like, pumpkin guts and pumpkin seeds as opposed to blood and brains and stuff. So it's really, there were kids in the theater with me while I was watching it, and they were loving it, laughing, and having a good time. And that's another thing. This movie is really funny. Jack Black, he plays the kid's uncle who takes this kid in when something happens to the kid's parents, and he has to raise him. And he's great. He really is just such a well-known household name, and he's just so funny. And Jack Black isn't the greatest actor in the world, but you could tell that he just loves being in movies. Like, he loves his job and he loves acting, and he doesn't strike me as the kind of guy that does it for the paycheck. Like, he just loves being there, and you could tell he's having so much fun playing this character, and that just pours out onto the screen, and it makes you have fun in turn watching it because he's just so genuine, and he has such charisma about him. And Cate Blanchett plays Jack Black's friend in the movie, who is also a wizard because Jack Black is a warlock. They're male and female wizards. She has more badass stuff to do than Jack Black does, but Jack Black definitely carries the comedy of the film. And there's the kid who is really, us. I mean, he's technically playing us. He is the relatable character of the movie. He is the person that we're all grasping onto. I think the reason why this movie is doing so well, I mean, it had a huge box office weekend for itself. It's probably going to start to slow down with Venom and everything coming out. But let's be honest, wizards and witches are beloved by everyone all around the world. I have pictures of my mom growing up when she was a little witch, when she was a little girl. My grandma hates all these Avengers movies and like action movies and stuff, but she always liked the Harry Potter movies because even as a kid, the thought of being able to grow up and use magic and like spells and everything, it's just something that's been around for decades, which is why, in my opinion, the Harry Potter movies worked and why this movie works, and not movies like The Mortal Instruments and all these other movies that just fail to really gain an audience. I mean, you got things like The Hunger Games, but something like that, like the whole idea of throwing kids in an arena and fighting to the death, it's not really only reaching for a target audience. Like, the Mortal Instruments, it's a very specific audience, whereas in like the Hunger Games, like you can go as a kid and watch it as like a teen movie, but you can go as an adult and watch it in horror, like if you have kids, and then like just as like a regular like person like me, I'm a fan of like Call of Duty and Battle Royale games, so it's like, it's kind of like the closest thing we're gonna get to a live action version of that, and I always like that stuff. And again, going back to this movie, I've always loved, spells and magic and wizards and witches and everything. So it's just a very appealing thing, because this movie didn't have a huge ad campaign. It wasn't plastered all over the city, and you didn't see a lot of trailers for it and everything. But they didn't really need it, because the fact that it's a movie about a little boy getting to become a wizard is enough for me, because what little boy and little girl doesn't want to do that, And like I said, it's, some people might think it's a ripoff of Harry Potter, but it's not. It's a very specific story and has no relation to Harry Potter's stories or anything. Like, it's nothing you've ever seen before in those movies. I actually liked where it was going. It had a nice twist in it. Like I said, the comedy was good. The action when it was in it was good. The chemistry between Cate Blanchett and Jack Black is so funny. I was dying laughing at the banter that they had back and forth, because they're constantly making fun of each other. The breakout character is definitely the chair. You're not going to know what I mean unless you see the movie, but that chair is hysterical. All I got to say is there's a scene in the movie where the chair takes a selfie, and I haven't laughed that hard in a movie in a really long time. And the kid, although I don't know his name, he's great. He really, he gave it all. There's a couple of scenes where he goes a little over the top with his screaming, and like the scenes where he's like afraid, where it just seemed like a little too much. But the kid was trying his hardest, trying to make a name for himself and be an actor. Like, I can't fault him for that. I really enjoyed this movie, and I highly recommend it to anyone who wants to take their kids to the movies, or anyone that just wants to see a funny movie, or anyone that likes wizards and witches, because this delivers on all cylinders. Eli Roth has a hit on his hands, and this movie is based off of a book that is a series of 12 novels. So this movie has potential to turn into the next Harry Potter franchise. Like, we can see this kid evolve with Jack Black and Cate Blanchett into, a much older version of themselves as we go on down the line throughout the books. We could see, like, them grow as a family, because they kind of become their own twisted little family at the end. However, like I said, this movie had a huge opening weekend. It was made off of like a $40 million budget, and it's at $53 million right now, so it already made its money, but it still has a little bit of a road to go before it can profit, because it still needs to pay for the advertisements and everything they did, and paying the actors and stuff. But what I like that this movie did is, even though it's the first of 12 series, the first of 12 books, they didn't end the movie setting up a sequel. They ended it kind of like with a nice bow. So for whatever reason it slows down to a halt and it doesn't make any more money, it's gonna be considered a failure, unfortunately, which it definitely doesn't deserve to, because it is really good, and it is rare that you get such original movies like this. But if it doesn't get a sequel, you could still watch this movie as just its own thing, and it ends, and it doesn't have like the bullshit like, oh, it's setting up for a sequel, like cliffhanger type thing. So you won't like be earning for more, aside from the fact that you might want more in this universe, but it's not like it's going to leave you on a cliffhanger. So that's another thing, just food for thought. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Do you want to see this movie? Are you going to see this movie? Has this review changed your mind about whether you want to see it or not? Or did you even know this movie existed? Because I know a lot of people that didn't even realize this was in theaters because they didn't see anything about it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. As always, I'll catch you next time.